if you were to give one advice to someone who wants to become an agent or is a new agent, what would it be?
Well, the first thing I always say, because there's so many of us, right? It's a very competitive market. Make sure you love real estate. If you're following money, please, guys, do yourself a favor. There are a lot of jobs out there that you can do to just make money. And this job, if you're just out there for the money, you'll be out within the first 2 years. Guaranteed.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk. Today we have David Cinelli.
Woo woo!
And you might have seen him on HGTV, right?
Yep.
What was the show called?
It was called Hot Market.
Oh my God.
We were supposed to have a second season. It was like, but COVID kind of screwed us a little bit for that.
COVID is crazy. Actually, funny enough, I was actually in a show. It was called $1 Million View. It was, I think it aired 2017 and 18. And I remember they would call us to do the shoot. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was every Sunday. And you'd have to be there at 6 a.m.
What?
Yeah, it was.
Ours wasn't that bad, but I'd have to show up at 10.
6 or 7 weeks in a row, and I used to go out on Saturdays. Like, I mean, listen, and I used to work on Sundays.
You still do.
Probably, yeah. But back then, I would go and like be out and then go straight to work. Yeah. So now I had to be up and go straight to the shoot. So I remember the very first one was at Parkland Lakeshore by the water, and they're like, be here at 5:20, no later than 5:20, because we got to do makeup and this and that. Anyways, I go up. Their makeup ladies weren't even there at 5:20, so they put me on a little box because I'm short, so they can see the what is it, like the CN Tower and thing in the bag, and they're like, okay, so just talk about yourself. Say they say like talk about this thing. Yeah. There was no script, so I'm like standing there like hungover, looking at it. I'm like, what? Like I thought there's gonna be a script. I can't just go off like. Anyways, it was funny. It was 6-7 weeks of that.
Yeah. So every episode we had took like every house we showed took 1 day. So we were there like a lot of times we show up there at 10, you're there till 5, right? And the funny thing you don't know about HGTV is like it's not necessarily scripted for the ones we were doing, but they kind of wanted to hit on certain points, and it's not all real. I hate to break it, but it's not. Like, reality TV is not real. And it was funny. So we'd have to go there and we would say one thing and they're like, okay, and they'd shoot another. We had to shoot every scene 3 times. And you look at the video and like you saw this house, it's on camera for like 2 minutes. Yeah. And it's a whole day. So one episode with 20 minutes took 5 days.
It's so funny that you say that because we were in the same boat. Yeah. They wouldn't give a script. They're like, okay, go show it as you do it normally. And then they'll be like, okay, now say these few things. Yeah. And then I'll be like,
oh, we liked how you did this. Can you read the now say it like that? And then you have to do like the B-roll in the back, and then like months later bringing it back, we're like, well, we need to tie things together. And it's like, and it was like, oh, and I'm like, oh, bring the same outfits. I'm like, same outfit. What was I wearing? And I'm taking screenshots, and I was like, and like my face is different at that point. You get more tan, more fat because you're drinking so much on the
Well, that's the whole thing. So my hair grew in one of the episodes, and I'm like, holy crap! Like you can tell. One episode I had a long hair to one side, and then like I cut it short for the next one, and you see a fade on this one, and people will be like, what's going on? Like,
but you know what? The most people didn't know, or they don't notice. And I was watching Selling Sunset, and when they're doing like the same thing, the offside, the interviews, and like sometimes they're just wearing totally the outfits and like totally different. Like they don't care. They're like, I
don't think anyone cares.
They're trying not to pretend anymore. They're like, no, like this is done afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they have to make a story, right? So, and I don't know about you, but they were always like, my audience, my friends, my clients would message me like, they tried to get you to say certain things you wouldn't say it. I'm like, absolutely. Like, how can you tell? They're like, you don't talk about commissions. I'm like, so the one thing they said to us in the beginning about HGTV, and I love this about them, and I would always respect them. They said, whatever character you portray on the television, because some people overplay themselves, people that is your character. You're like, but it's gonna carry on with you, so you have to be comfortable with that. My business is not always about chasing the commission. But there was a couple of sentences like, hey, can you say this? I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. And I just refuse to say, like, I'll give you one example where I had clients and they were like, can you say like, they're really good friends of mine, but hey, that's a really big commission. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. Yeah. I said, let's reverse it. Let's do it this way. I'm like, this is a big commission, but you're really good clients of mine and good friends of mine that I really want to keep you close. So that's more important to me than the money. That's how I treat my business. And and that's true. And they're like, and my clients, all that know me, picked up on that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting because they told me one time that, because we were always talking about the views and these homes had good views. So one of the girls in the back, they had I think 3 or 4 people that were taking notes and suggesting how to say a few things. And they're like, okay, you got to say fabulous view. I'm like, I don't use that word. I just can't say it. And at the beginning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to say it. Then we walk again with the clients, get to the point, and I just look and I'm like, I just start laughing. I'm like, I just don't, this is not in my vocabulary. I just can't say fabulous.
Fabulous.
So, yeah. And I'm like, okay, listen, no, at the end, I can't remember. I feel like amazing view or something like that. I'm like, okay, listen, this is as good as it gets right now. So just work with it. But so again, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So a lot of people look at, let's say you look at me and like, you've been on the show is great. And they're like, oh, being a realtor is fun. But first of all, where does one start to be a realtor? How long it takes to actually see some result?
Yeah.
And, you're a successful agent. And what it took to get there, and what's behind the scene like, because it's not always fun and games.
Yeah, so I'm a unique kind of situation because, I started my rental properties. So I started my first rental property 19 years ago. So that's what started the love of real estate. So before I got my license, I was doing this for 10 years. When you're a landlord, you're doing everything on your own. You're putting out ads, you're taking the pictures, you're seeing what works better, right? And you're buying properties on the backside too. And I did not like the realtors I was dealing with. I hated all the realtors to the point that I didn't want to be a realtor. They left such a bad taste in my mouth. I say this before, my brother-in-law was my last realtor. He's good. He's still with our office, Dino. Dino's great. But I'm saying, all the other realtors were shit.
I didn't know that Dino.
Yeah. So our wives are sisters.
Amazing.
Yeah. Dino Prezio. Yeah. So, but it was funny because it left such a bad taste in my mouth that I didn't want to be a realtor. So to a point where I had one where her and her son are in her neighborhood and like they're blowing up and too, but she would make me come and do my own open houses. And I'm like, what am I paying you for? And then I'm like, and she would make me help like with signs. And I'm like, it was horrible. And then she wouldn't tell me if I was the showing. So she was trying to get me to get like a lowball offer and get mad when I wasn't accepting it because it's like $6 I own in Roncesvalles. And I was like, she wanted to give it away for $850. It's worth over $3.5 million now. Like this is like, and I'm like, she wanted to give it away back. Anyway, so for me, it started different. So when I got packaged out from Hydro, where I was a treasury analyst. But I've been doing this again. Like all my colleagues knew, like, you should have been a realtor. You should have been a realtor. I was teaching them how to get into investment properties. I was telling people how to pull equity because I had the financial background. We would run numbers with.
So what did you study?
So I had an MBA. So I did my undergrad at the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. I had a scholarship to play hockey, Division III hockey there, and fantastic school. When I graduated, I was bouncing around playing pro. Didn't really work out for about a year. Went to a couple places. I was supposed to stay in Europe. It didn't really work out. So when I came back, I don't know, I was bouncing around coaching. And I remember my dad came into me, like, it was Italian household. He comes, what the fuck are you doing? He said this twice to me. The first time, I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I didn't send you to school to be a goalie coach, hockey, bouncing around, living all hours a night. Like, it was weird because when you're coaching, like, it happens after hours, right? So, like, my first client would be like at, I don't know, 2:00, and I'd run into, like, I get home, everybody's sleeping. I get home at midnight and I go to bed and I wake up, everybody was gone, right? So it's like, I wasn't seeing the families. Like, this is not what you want to do. Either you go back to school or you start paying me room and board. And I was like, pay room and board? I'm not doing that for my parents. So we figured out, I did my MBA instead. So from there, I did my MBA for a year at Laurier. And then, from there, I worked as an analyst at Toronto Hydro for 10 years.
And then after Toronto Hydro.
So during the transition, I didn't know. I got packaged out. I didn't know what to do. So I created.
So what, they were laying off people?
Yeah. So kind of. So there was. I passed the 2 rounds of laying off people, right? And we got a new boss. I went through 7 bosses in a year. Wow. And the last boss I kind of worked with, it was just like, he wanted Toronto Hydro. He wanted something different. I wasn't his cup of tea, and it's fine. It was what it was. And the writing was on the wall. I knew I was going to get fired eventually, and all my colleagues we all one by one, we all got fired, right? And it was a matter of time. It was just a matter of time. And when I got let go, I was like, I went home, had a scotch and a cigar. I said, "This is awesome."
Awesome.
But I didn't know what to do. But I didn't want to be a realtor. I knew we had just sold our matrimonial home. Dino sold it for us, and it had become a rental property because we had moved into the home. And I was like, we did a lot of the work. I'll be honest with you. Like, my wife and I did all the staging. Like, we helped get the contractors there. We told my brother-in-law, like, we're going to list at this price, have offers on this. And I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I said to him too, like, Dino, can I do this? He's like, well, it's not as easy as it looks. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. He goes, yeah, but maybe you want to try it. But again, having all those bad experiences with realtors, it was not something I wanted to do. So at that time, my dad was, not feeling great. Like there was some transition was happening there, and he had a bunch of rental properties. And he saw what I did with my rental properties. I turned shitty rental properties. I renovated them. I'd hire in clients. And he's like, you have less stress. I'm like, Dad, if you treat them like a slumlord, you're going to get shitty tenants. You're going to get more complaints. I'm like, you know, like I want to start taking over. I had called him, and this was like, you know, a touch from God, you know, one of those things, because my dad never relinquished control at all.
Yeah.
He called me right when I was going to call him. He goes, you should take over my properties and do what you did for them. And I was like, okay. I was just about to call you. We both had the same idea. Yeah. And then when I was doing that, I was like, well, I've been helping people get into rental properties for the last 10 years. Why don't I monetize this? Why don't I create a company? And I could use my dad's properties as a springboard, as you basically like show them like, here's what I've done, right? Like a case study. That's a total portfolio. Yeah. So I already had started them, said the befores and afters, you know, had my wife come and take amazing pictures, all stuff too. So the idea was, it was called the Property Manager. If you ever go on Facebook, it's still there. And it was find it, fix it, run it. So I created, between my financial planner and myself, we created a business case, right? Sorry, business plan. And the find it was, you know, in case you wanted a rental property, you know, you talk to mortgage brokers, I can help you find one, or something that maybe converted into one. Like, for example, we just sold a property it'd be perfect for a basement apartment. These are kinds of the cues you're looking for. How's the side entrance? Can we knock a doll here? Do you have the 7-foot ceilings? Those kinds of things, because I knew all the rules. So that was fix it. And then the run it. If you run the first 2 programs, I will run the property management for you free for 6 months. So that was the plan. I gave it to the business plan, and we were working on it. We had to monetize it. So we went to monetizing, you know, trying to figure out where can I make money in this thing? Yeah. You know, because it's basic consulting. Yeah. And the biggest gap was the realtor. So I'm like, what do? Do I refer this out? I'm like, fuck it. Let's just get my license. Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? Nice. And then I went into the class, and my dad was excited because he's like, great, we could start working together and all this stuff too. And I did the week class. It was different than it is now. Back then you could go for a class and then you do the exam.
Well, when was it? When did you get your license?
This was 10 years ago. So this is where it starts. So the reason why I'm saying I remember this, 4 days before my first exam, my dad died.
Oh, sorry to hear.
So yeah, so it was kind of shitty situation, and I still didn't know what I was going to do. So you know, family members died. I was young. I'm 46 now. I was 36 at the time, and I was like drinking a lot. You know, like people coming over the house, and I remember my uncles were saying to me like, Dave, like you don't have to take this exam. I remember my Aunt Frances. She goes, you don't have to take this exam, and I was like, but something's telling me I should. Mm-hmm. Took my first exam, probably still drunk, and I got 100%. I said, there must be a typo here. I didn't study, didn't do anything. I'm like, okay. And I'm always, you know, people think of the universe. I believe in God, and I think he gives you signs. That was kind of kicking the nuts for me. And they're like, no. So I did the second course. And again, I'm saying, I just want to be a property manager. I just want to have this business. I just want to do that. I'm in the second class. It's like 2 weeks, and I'm helping teach the class. It's the second, and I'm like, the teacher's coming up to me. Did I get these questions right? Am I doing this right about the construction? I had a friend of ours in the class that we had met in the first one. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? She goes, like, you're the student. I'm like, right? I'm like, see, this is why I don't want to be a realtor. She's been doing this for 20 years, and she's asking me. I'm not even a realtor. Yeah. By the time the third class rolled around, I came home one day, and I said to my wife, I'm like, I think I'm supposed to be a realtor. At that point, I had like a beard. I had like long hair, and like I had a pickup truck. And she's like, for 5 months, you know, and she's like, yeah, it took you long enough. So I literally cut my hair, shaved, got a Jeep instead of a Grand Cherokee, instead of a truck to go into like the condos, interviewed a couple places. And the next thing you know, I got a realtor. But again, I've been doing this. I was building. And the great thing here at Royal LePage Signature, I had Sam Hewitt. Yeah. You know, I don't know if people know who Sam Hewitt is, but Sam was like basically she was training us at that point. So I had hands on, and she told me so many good things. So right away, should we do the class?
So you were coming to the Don Mills office?
No, I went to the Mississauga office.
Oh.
So that's why Mississauga office just became Signature.
Oh, okay.
So at that point, she was traveling there. And she would say like, okay, do the databases, how you do open houses, everything she would do. I pick up the phone as soon as and I started calling people. I'm like, hey, and I started getting leads. So my cousin's like, oh my God, thank you called. Like I sold my cousin's property. In the first like 6 months, I had 6 deals. That was the first year was only 6 months. I had 6 deals.
That's amazing.
And I was like, but beginner's luck. And then,
well, is it though? That's the whole thing.
It was and it wasn't because it was already time. But then once those 6 deals were done, I'm like, now what do you do? So the good thing with us at the time here was that we had coaches that come in, And we had Rob Vivian that came in. He was coach. And there's something resonated with him. I liked his psychological approach. I liked some of the things he does is like, for me, is a little bit like old school, but I liked that. I needed the old school. And that was one of the things that started for me, was taking his like knowledge and starting to door knock, starting to do my listing presentations, starting to talk, you know, FSBOs, like for sale by owners. And and he's like, but you got to remember, and I would tell the new realtors this, when you're doing this, like when you start to prospect, you're not prospecting to get a deal now. You're prospecting for 3 to 6 months out. Yeah. Now, the thing I was fortunate enough is I was still getting paid by Toronto Hydro when I was doing this. So my whole goal was I needed to make the same amount of money doing this so that my family wouldn't suffer because of something I wanted to do, right? Yeah. So, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do it. So I started making this money, and I'm like, okay. But then it dried up. But thank God I listened to the coach, and then 3 to 6 months, then the leads started coming in, then the deals started coming in. But it took grinding every day. I used to literally, like, so for a couple of months, I didn't even know where to start. I wake up in the morning, like, I go to the gym, I'm like, I'm a realtor? Yeah. What do I do? Like, nobody tells you what to do. Nobody tells you that you have to sell yourself. Nobody tells you that once you get your license that there's not going to be a whole bunch of people knocking at the door saying, hey, like, you need this.
Sell my house.
Yeah. Nobody also tells you, like, what all the other realtors are doing. Don't fucking do that, because they're already doing it. Yeah. Like, I was sending out postcards. Yeah, that didn't work. I went on a Harvey's thing and I put my name there. Yeah, that didn't work. I went and did those, you know, the Harvey's when you were like the trays, they put that. I think I got one call and I spent thousands of dollars doing that. Yeah. Another one I did which was like, you know, in the advertisement inside of the elevators. I tried that.
The TVs.
Yeah, I think I got one call. And again, I was like, oh, you want to renew? Like, no. So I was trying like everything, and I was just like, but it wasn't me, you know. I was just kind of like, I thought that's what you were supposed to do, right? Until that's what the social media stuff. And I'm like, no, I need to get my face out there. I need to put, what I really do is I work hard. I don't stop. I need a schedule. So Rob was telling us, he's like, hey, like if you find a house that's sold in the last 7 days, you have a talking point. So people want to know on the street what's happening, right? Like, so, and it's hot. So if you door knock on a street that just had a sale in the last 7 days, you're 33% more likely to get a listing.
100%. That's so true.
Because people are now interested. So what I would do is I would go in my area. Every morning I would put a pin about 5 or 10 kilometer radius. How many houses are sold? How many sold over asking? Because then I had a script to talk about. And I would see, and I would say, okay, this street over here, do I like this? And I would pick houses that would be like, that you know are going to flip quickly. Yeah. Like, for example, like townhouses flip faster. So you know there's going to be more turnover. So chances are if something sells high, somebody might be thinking upgrade. Yeah. Right? That's usually what happens. So that was kind of my strategy. And you can hit a lot of houses talking to a lot of people. Or there's other ones where the houses were closer together. And I would count how many houses were. I had a letter. I would say, like, change something. Hey, here neighbor, you know, I live in the area, because I was in the area. Do you know houses are selling quickly? And this is the script I would write in there. And it would say, like, you know, did you notice a house at, you know, was on Edgecroft? Did you notice a house on Edgecroft? It sold for 10% above asking in 5 days. Did you know there was a lot of buyers that didn't get into that house? Are you be interested? If I had a buyer for you, would you be interested in selling? And that's
how you got started.
That's how I got started. And I would door knock 3 days a week. I tried cold calling. It wasn't the same. Yeah. I like this. Yeah. I do better like this.
Yeah, I can't cold call.
Oh, I know.
But some people are good at it.
Well, we had Mike Samra on the podcast like a month ago or so. And he came into my office because I mentor a number of realtors now on Tuesdays. And I'm like, when I was on
from our office, or
at my Bloor office.
No, like realtors from Royal LePage or anyone.
Well, no, 3 of them are for Royal LePage and a couple of them are for not.
Amazing.
They're friends of mine. So yeah, I'm like, come. I'm like, well, I'm on Royal LePage. I'm like, it's me. Yeah. You know, I don't care. Like, it's just me. It's like, you know, 2 of them are on my team. We have a mentorship team. Then I have Chris Kukoc is on there too, and my friend Kelly, and then I have my other friend Duncan, I have my other friend Joe that come in. So I just send there, and I coach them. I give them accountability. You need to do this, this, and this, and this. So anyway, this is one of the scriptures. So Mike Samra was on the podcast, and he was like teaching us how to cold call. Now, doesn't matter how whether you're talking, like the scripts all work the same. And it was very interesting to see how that kind of works. So I brought him in, and it was like, we just did a session with him, and it was like, it was awesome just seeing other realtors, what they do. But the idea is that people don't see how much we grind in the back end. Like when I have a sale, it's not like somebody calls me, although I do have to say this, one of my buddies did buy over a $4 million property. He only wanted to see the one. I'm selling this $3.5 million. That happens.
That happens once in a blue moon. Yeah.
Once.
Yeah.
All the other ones, I'm calling anywhere from 1 to 5 times a week to making sure, like, hey, did you get this? Did you want to see this property? Do you like this? Do that? Okay, I've done the footwork here. We're doing it over here. That's even when you get the lead. To get the lead, holy shit. Like, I don't know if you've seen how many videos I post today.
Yeah.
I have 7 of my own videos, 7 podcast videos. We're posting things on.
You post daily, right? Because
two to 4 things daily.
Yeah, because you have different little things that you post depending on the day. And
that's right.
Holy, yeah, like that takes a lot of time.
It does. So I have a schedule set up. So, well, during COVID, my assistant and I were kind of figuring out. COVID was good for that. We revamped the website.
Yeah.
But I was also saying, I was playing with what works and what doesn't work. And then I was doing like motivational Mondays. And I'm like,
I remember.
But my motivational Mondays in the beginning were like, pictures. And I'm like, I should probably, me and Stephen Kim were talking about this. Stephen Kim used to be in our office before. We're like,
yeah, Stephen talks about it.
He's like, you should talk in those videos. I'm like, right.
Yeah.
So I would take a quote and then I start talking. And then I would try like workout Wednesdays. And I'm like, oh, that didn't work out. And then I started, home tip Tuesdays. Stephen always said, take my Tuesdays. I'm like, Steve, I'm not copying yours, but I'll copy your idea.
Yeah. So
I do my home tip Tuesdays, HGT. I'm like, okay, I like that one. So motivational turned into HGT. And I was trying to do wellness Wednesdays, but then I noticed, I don't know, I'm not a fucking trainer. Like I was also, we were talking off air, I was getting fat. So it's like, how could I, you couldn't work out during COVID, right? And I was like, I was literally drinking like 2-3 bottles a day of wine, or like, what else? We had nothing to do, right? Up until, and then when the showing started, I was like, well, then you get into a habit. You come in, you're like, well, I've been drinking anyway. You're eating like shit. So then we started doing, my wife's my stager. We were like, wow, Stager's Corner. So we started doing Stager's Corner for Wednesdays, and then Thursdays was just me going off with Cinelli chats, and it just kind of progressed.
So do you record them all in one day?
Mostly, yeah.
So
Mondays.
Each week, or so on Mondays you record the whole week and then you post
That's right.
it. Okay.
So what I do now is like I figure out, so on Mondays while I'm working out, so I work out in the mornings. So the other thing is, before we get into that, it's very important for realtors when I say the 2 things. One, you're not going to get a deal once you start, so make sure you have a line of credit or something to cover you for 6 months, cover your mortgage, because you may not get a deal for 6 months. And you have to grind every day to get those leads, and it's very important. And 1 out of 4 leads works out. So if you want to get 1 deal, you have to find 4 people that are willing to work with you, and maybe 1 of them might work out.
So just to add to that, actually, like that's a good thing, because if anyone's starting, you're talking about having 4 leads. To get the 4 leads, you're probably making, I don't know, depending on who it is, but you're probably making 50 to 100 calls to make sure you got 4 people that are looking. And out of the 4 people, 1 of them is going to probably transact. And that transaction, you're probably looking for 2 or 3 months, let's just say, and then closing another 2 or 3 months. So your first transaction is going to be probably 6 months from the time you start. Here and there, you get lucky, as you said, off the get-go, you may have someone lined up to do the transaction. And one thing I've noticed with a lot of agents is, okay, they have 1 or 2 or 3 people they're working with. They stop the prospecting. So the 2 or 3 finish, and then they're like, oh, crap, now I got to look.
Never stop.
Yeah.
Because, again, like you never want, we call it like the coal mine. You never want to stop the train, or like going in the coal. You're always filling the coal. You're always filling the pipeline. Always filling the coal. And that's how we always refer. So, yeah, sure. Like, and because otherwise, exactly what happens, and you have to start all over again, and now you're 6 months behind. And that's why I said, like, we never, like Sam says here, she goes, don't, summertime, take your foot off the gas, but don't stop completely. And everybody I've ever talked to that took the whole summer off is fucked. I've seen them it takes years to get them back, because routine is a big part of this, and that's what I was getting into, because once you take too much time off, your routine gets messed up. And once your routine gets messed up, it's really hard to get back into sync.
100%.
So take a couple weeks here and there too, but don't, I would never take this whole summer off.
The way I've done it, and it was funny because I heard that's actually what some of the real estate coaches are suggesting. I used to just work. I would even work on Sundays, but then I started taking the Sundays off. It was about during COVID, I think. I started taking Sundays off. But what I do is I only take the long weekends off, and like pretty much the majority of my clients know. So if it's a long weekend, Nima's MIA Friday to Monday. But you can't just take 3 months off, because even when I'm gone, here and there, I've gone on vacations that 2 weeks. That 2 weeks that was gone, there was no prospecting happening. I notice it 2 months down the road, that 2 week, something 2 to 3 months down the road, I'm gonna be stressing out because there's like nothing happening, because, you know, as you said, there's no way you prospect and say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to have a client. By the time they get their pre-approval, they do something. It takes 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and we like to go away for like a warm vacation in February usually, but it's 10 days. Yeah. And my clients know that. But in February, there's not a lot happening. So it's like, that's even the prospect of then is like, it's not the best. So I picked that specifically for that reason, right? And you're right, because if you don't do that, you could be screwed. I would never prospect during the hot time of the market. In the spring market, there's no chance. Yeah. Even now this year, we're taking smaller vacations. We went to Mexico, but
the whole thing is because, again, you have some tools that will fill in those gaps. That's right. Not prospecting. You got your.
But you don't know.
You got your.
When I go away vacation, nobody knows I'm on vacation because we're going back to the recording. What I do is, so I have a routine, and I think it's very important that you establish a routine as a realtor. You have to treat this business like a job. You can't just wake up when you want to wake up. Like, Nima, if you woke up at 10 o'clock every day, I wake up at 6:15. I'm already prospecting by the time you brush your teeth. Yeah. I might already have a lead, but by the time you wait till 12 o'clock, all the gatekeepers in there gatekeepers are for the ones preventing you from talking to your prospective leads. They're all stepping in. Yeah. Plus there's lunch, and then you got to go get to kids. It just won't happen. So you need to have a routine. And I was pushing back on Rob Vivian in the beginning. He's like, wake up early, maybe 5:30. 5:30 doesn't work for me, but 6:15 does. I wake up, I say thanks to God. I do. I pray in the morning. I don't care if people call that funny. Like, I'm alive. I had my brain surgery a couple of years ago, so I'm very. What happened? You don't know about that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second. But I'm very thankful. I could have died. I had an AVM in my brain, a blockage in my brain. Wow. And so when I wake up, I say thank you. Thank you that I'm alive another day. I'm breathing. Yeah. Because we should. We take for granted the things that we're able to do, like breathe, eat.
Yeah, 100%.
Hug my kids, you know? So the first thing in the morning I say thank you. Then I feed my cats. And then I was telling you before, we do a prayer session now with a couple of friends. I call them up. I read the Bible. And then I have my coffee. I relax, watch breakfast television for a little bit, or Sports Center. And then I work out. So I'm spiritually happy. I'm thankful. I've been reading. I've had my coffee, so I'm a little bit more awake. But then the workout, my physical, like, you have that blood pumping through your body. Now you're ready to go. So on Mondays is my day where I take Monday off, in the sense that I don't call people like necessarily. Like, it's my day to create my videos. Yeah. And while I'm working out, your brain opens up. Yeah. It opens up because now you're thinking about things. Okay, what I'm doing. So because I have a schedule for all of my videos per day, I have a topic, like what I'm doing, like we said before. I just have to fill in the gaps. Okay, so what's my motivational Monday? What's my home tip? Are me and Natalie going to talk today, or are we going to regurgitate one of the videos we've done before for Stagers Corner? Cinelli chat is kind of like, so again, so I'm thinking about things. What happened in life this week for my real estate stuff? What would people find interesting? So while I'm doing that, fill it in, I shower, or I might jump in the sauna, shower, and then I go and I record them. Yeah. All one shot, changing shirts, changing locations.
So you change it,
Yeah, because two things. One, it helps because I take the videos and I send them to my assistant. She edits them because they're pretty, adds caption, all that, and it makes creative. But the second thing is, so I know which one they are, right? So if she says, like, if you have the same background, the same T-shirt or same thing, you're not going to know, right? But people also notice.
Just so to get it, so like, let's say your Mondays has one background, or it could be anything. Random, like Mondays you do one.
Everything. It's always random in my house.
Random, okay, yeah, because I've seen it it's around my house,
So I record everything in my house, because so in my office at Jade and Bloor, I rent out my office upstairs to a friend of mine. He's a chiropractor, so I'm like, perfect. I can stay at home. He's taking care of it. I'm getting rent, so I don't have to be in the office. And then
your office, you rent it out on Mondays?
Yeah, Mondays, and then he comes. Another guy Thursday nights, Tuesday nights, and he also comes in on Thursday. So yeah, and Saturdays. Yeah, so it's a little supplemental income.
I think I saw a room there. Yeah, that had the.
Yeah, so in our kitchen, he's got that. Yeah. So we have the routine, and then I record, and then moving things around. Now, if I'm going away vacation, I record 2 weeks worth of videos. Mm-hmm. And my assistant gives them to me too, and we put them into a note.
Nice.
So I still upload my TikTok videos, and I upload my Twitter or X. So if I don't see it, I also stay on her too. Like, sometimes she'll miss it. I'm like, it's not posting. I have it here. Like, post. I also want a backup in case she misses it. I'll post. So even when I'm on vacation, it takes 2 seconds to post, but I still have my finger on the pulse. Yeah. Right. So I'm like, I'm never away. And people are like, well, aren't you relaxing? I'm like, I am relaxing.
Yeah.
I'm having a scotch, a cigar. I'm sitting on the beach.
Takes a
with my
second to
kids.
post.
It takes. I'm not on my phone constantly.
Yeah.
But I do bring my laptop. But every vacation I always get a couple deals done every time we go away.
It's so fun, isn't it? Like every time
I just went to Wisconsin. I had 3 deals. I was there for 3 days. I'm like, I said to my buddies, I'm coming back. Like, why, you want to see us? I'm like, no, I want to do more deals.
Yeah, because it's funny. Someone was telling me, anytime your business slows down, just leave and see what happens. And it's been like that.
Yeah, we're going to Bahamas now, and then by the time this airs, we've just gone to the Bahamas.
Nice, nice.
And then we're also going to Charleston from other buddies' wedding, and then we have another one going again we're going to Jamaica. So we have 3 more vacations set up for the rest of the year.
Amazing.
So I'm hoping and having like a ton of deals while I'm away.
So while we're talking about how long in advance do you book the vacations?
So this one, last one we had, my wife just decided to. She's like, we're going. I'm like, okay. So she booked, but usually 4 or 5 months in advance, because it gives you something to look forward to. You can tell your clients, you know, like the one we had for Jamaica, we've known for like 8 months. For Charleston, we knew 6 or 7 months ago, but usually it's advanced, and we work always around it. And I always tell my clients, I am not here. But the good thing is, like, you have a team as well. We have also a team, like, people take care of us. So even if we're not away, first of all, our laptops are usually with us, so we could do that. Our phones are with us. You know, we pay a little bit more money while we're away, but, you know.
You need to.
We were away in Mexico last year, and the first day I told my wife, I have offers tonight. Yeah. So they went for 2-3 hours exploring the resort. Yeah. And I sat and I did an offer. And I said, this is paying for your vacation. So
it's going to happen.
We can't say it's going to happen, right?
It's going to go
we
down.
did. We knocked it out of the park. And then that's why. Anyway, long story short, it's like, so we have those days, and we also have people now to take care of it. Now, if you're starting out in the business, you want to be that person that when your head lead goes, like you have a lead so that they can give you the business. So you learn from them every little thing. So, and make sure that they are confident in you. So when they go away, you can help with their business. So that's also what I would say to young realtors is like, hook up with somebody, either a mentor or a team lead. So become part of a team. So you learn firsthand. Yeah. You know, it's really, really difficult in this business now with 70,000 realtors to be doing everything on your own, and you're starting everything from scratch. Good luck. You know, like
it's so crucial what you said, like, you know, having a mentor, especially when you start off, and starting it off right. Like, you know, get a coach. A lot of the real estate companies have coaching, have like we're at Roller Page Signature. They have the accelerator program, and I've seen what they do in that program. It really like gets you up to speed to start. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know what? It's an easy job. Probably just going to start it. And you know what? I do 2 deals. That's 50,000. But where is that 2 deals going to come from? Last year we had around 60, less than 60,000.
It was 68,000, just under 69,000 deals. We had the slowest market in 20 years, and per capita, it was the slowest market we had in 23 years.
That's less than a deal per agent.
So the average agent, 43% had 0 deals. The average agent did between 1 to 6 deals. That was the average, let's call them, because that was an additional 47% had that. So 90% of agents did under 6 deals. And we're talking like 1 or 2 deals and stuff. And so even if the average price is 1.1 million, which it is now, not all agents are getting 2.5%. Let's just call it 2%. It's $20,000. You're doing 2 deals, you're making $40,000. Yeah. Let's call it. Yeah. Maybe 50. Yeah. Maybe. And it's like, but most agents, like 0, like 43%. And again, granted, people are like, well, it's in their part-time. Only 1/3 of agents are part-time. Yeah. So that still leaves you 14% of agents that are full-time that had 0 deals last year. Yeah. That's crazy.
And even like at the 50,000 at 2 deals, like the expenses are high. I mean, like you do a proper photography, videography, you can go cheap out and do it maybe with a couple of $100. But once you do the video, once you do the reel, once you do the 3D, like, I mean, I remember our deals, like at some point we were like $300-400. Now we're paying on average about $1,000 for these packages.
And the higher ones, I'm paying a couple grand because I'm now
depends on what you're doing and who you're using.
Well, if I'm using Adam from Vision 360, like he's outsourcing some of the ones that like the really cool reels, so it costs me more money because he's like, well, my editor can't do this, but I have this other editor. I'm like, I'm paying the extra money because I want to, because that one looks amazing, so I want that extra one. It's extra $500, and I'm like, my last couple of ones were over $2,000 easily, and that's not even including my staging. So my wife's my stager, and people are like, "Oh, you get it for free."
No, you
don't.
Fuck,
no, I don't. Yeah. Like she charges me regular price. Well, you got to think about it. It's opportunity cost for her. Yeah. So if she's putting stuff in my listing, she can't make money, and she has a partner. She has to justify that too. Yeah. And she's right. You should be charging me. Yeah. Right.
No, 100%.
And it's I get a little bit of a discount. Yeah. But it's not free. It's never been.
See, that's what the people are missing. Even like the movers, that the big cost for any staging is the moving part of it.
Yeah.
And just moving the furniture in and out, that's like $1,000 right there.
Yep.
And you know, you haven't even gotten started, and then like every month that this listing sits there, you're paying for it. The advertising, you pay for it. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know, you just put it on MLS. Listen, no, we don't, because if you want that, go work somewhere else. I mean, if you want a for sale sign on your property, there are agents that are doing it for a flat fee. But if you want your place looking its best, get the top dollar, then you need to do what you are doing.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't.
Absolutely. Well, I call it when I do my listing presentation, I'm like, sure, you can have a discount agent. They do the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
They put on MLS, they put a sign in your lawn,
Yeah.
and they pray to God that it sells.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
Yeah.
I had, so my brother has a hair salon. I remember last year we were sitting in the salon, and I was talking to this lady. She's like, my house isn't selling. And I was like, yeah, what's going on? I'm like, so what are you doing for marketing? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what's our agent doing for marketing? She's like, well, he never gave us a marketing plan.
Yeah.
Like, what's he doing for pictures? Well, we made the pictures look bad on purpose. Come on. Because, we didn't, we wanted to get people thinking they can get it at a really good deal. I'm like, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life.
Furious?
I think the guy was just cheap.
Yeah.
He used his flip phone. It was a flip phone. I could tell you.
Well,
because
good for him for convincing the client.
Oh yeah, she was looking exactly right. And I'm like, you should be doing like this. Like, even if the house looks like shit, like even the shitty packages for like, the rental's like $150. Like, that's not a lot of money. It's not a crazy amount. I'm like, again, he could have at least done that.
Yeah.
But it was horrible. And she, like when I said the marketing plan, she looked at me as if I had 10 heads. I'm like, our job is to market your home, right? That's how you get the top dollar. Yeah. And it's like, well, I'm like, how it looks, how it presents itself. And there was a stat which I use in my listing. It's like 80% of what you see, raw pictures, your brain retains. So if you see a listing that looks amazing, you remember 80% of that, right? Like that's a stat, right? Yeah. But if your house looks like shit, your brain 80%, you remember that too. So like all of the things you saw on that day, it'll stick out in your mind.
Yeah, so true.
So which side do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side where people are like, look how amazing that house was? Or like, hey, did you see how shit that house was? And either way, you're going to stand out one way or the other way. Make sure you're on the right spectrum. Yeah. And I say that to my clients. I said, sure, you can get cheap, but look what you get for cheap.
Yeah. And the reality is people that are buying a residential property, it's emotional purchase. So if you see something, it smells nice, looks nice, you're going to be, okay, you know what? I can see myself. I want to live here. It's a lifestyle. So I want to do this. Otherwise, what's the point of even hiring an agent? So that's the whole point of it. And you're doing it great. I mean, David, if you were to give one advice to someone who wants to become an agent or is a new agent, what would it be?
Well, the first thing I always say, because there's so many of us, right? It's a very competitive market. Make sure you love real estate. If you're following money, please, guys, do yourself a favor. There are a lot of jobs out there that you can do to just make money. And this job, if you're just out there for the money, you'll be out within the first 2 years, guaranteed, because you will not love it. You need to love this job. You do.
100%.
It has to be a part of you. There's got to be a part of you. Now, we all do it differently, and there's all aspects we all love and hate about it too, but there has to be like you want to help people and you have to love it. Okay. The second thing I would always say is, like we said before, make sure you have money or a line of credit that you could survive at least 6 months without getting a paycheck. Yeah. Okay. You also make sure you know what that money is and keep it in mind. Don't hide it. So I would look at your bank account. And why do you do that? You look at your bank account and when it's going down, because that'll motivate you to go out there and sell. Yeah. That would definitely get you to do it. And the third thing I would say is, like we said before, either get a coach, a mentor, or work with a team, because that'll help mold you. Either way, because otherwise, if you just join thinking, if we all get our licenses are only good to teach us not how to get sued. They don't tell you how to sell. You need to sell yourself. You need to find what's worked for. Because again, these formulas we're all doing right there, there's nothing new under the sun. It's all just, we look at each other, we steal from each other, we change it, we modify it, and that's all we really do. It's nothing brand new. And with something, and the rare occasion something comes new, and it's implemented, everybody does it. So that's something. So, but you got to make it unique. So your mentor, your coach, or your whoever it is, or your team lead would have already done that for you, and it takes away a lot of the process of you reinventing the wheel over and over again.
100%. Well, listen, I learned a lot because if I like back then when I started, I had nobody telling me what to do, and there was a lot of time wasted. But if I had joined the team, I know I had an offer years ago to join the team, and this was before, because I got my license way before I actually started doing real estate. And now looking back, I would have been ahead at least 3-4 years, just doing it right at the beginning. But David, that was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Nima.
Appreciate it. So guys, you heard it from David. If you want to be a realtor, this is what it takes. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and make sure to watch our last episode talking about wills and estates and how to do estate sales. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.